Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do my monthly reflections. It's going to be slightly different because I don't know whether or not I'm going to do any goal setting this month, but we'll get to that. But basically just like, how did February go? Rather than just using these videos to kind of help to measure whether or not I'm moving towards things that I want to achieve and like setting new little mini goals for myself, which is what I intended at the beginning of the year, I thought these monthly check-ins could be like a reflection on the past month and how I'm feeling and how I want to be feeling for the next month. Because really right now, that's where I feel like I need to focus. If you watch my vlogs where I am an oversharer, you will know I've not been in the best headspace for the past few weeks. More than that, really. January was not good. February was worse. I just really kind of hit a super low point in February and felt awful, but with no real reason. Like, I have felt bouts of sadness before, like, you know, abnormal sadness. I'm not going to say depression because I don't think that's what it is. But just kind of real low points before. But there have always been reasons. So again, if you watch the vlogs, you will have seen throughout lockdown, I shared a lot of ups and downs, a lot of like meltdown moments and stuff there. But there was a real specific cause for that effect. And that didn't make me feel the same way that this most recent one did, because there was no reason. Everything theoretically is on the up for everyone. In theory, it is. In theory, everything's getting better. We're not seeing constantly bad news. We don't feel like we're being dragged down every single day. It feels like steadily things are lifting. It's a really nice period of time for me because we've got lots of celebrations personally in the family, all of that stuff. I had a niece, lots of stuff to celebrate, lots of stuff to be happy about. And I was just really struggling to care about anything. I was also a little bit poorly. I still don't really understand what we had. Milo and we tested negative multiple times throughout this period. So I really do think it was just a different kind of virus. But it felt like we had a different symptom every day. We went from nausea, headaches, earaches, mega congestion. I know someone out there will be like, that was my symptom for COVID. I hear you. I don't think that's what it was, but you know, whatever. We were run down and really quite unwell for about 2 weeks. And I'm feeling better now, but I think that just kind of punctuated how I was feeling. I was already kind of like there, and then the physical lull in everything, I was just like, I don't even have the energy to pretend. So emotionally, in terms of like my own like mental well-being, February is not a good month for me. It wasn't. I feel like I'm coming out of it and I'm pepping up again now. Because there was definitely a point there where I was starting to be a little bit more concerned than I usually would be about my mental health. But it really did help to talk about. I'm not normally a talker. I like to talk after the fact. Like now, you and we're chatting. I'm like, this is how I was feeling, because I'm not feeling that way now. I can talk about it quite freely and happily. But in the moment, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to anyone. Even the most mundane things, I don't want to have a conversation. Don't have the bandwidth for whatever this is. Definitely don't want to tell you how I'm feeling. But I felt compelled to talk to a couple of people this time around. And I was so glad that I did, because almost everyone I spoke to, not everyone, but almost everyone I spoke to was like, that is so weird, because I have been feeling really weird recently. And it made me feel not just less alone, not just like, oh, thank God it's not just me, but it also made me feel like, oh, okay, so this isn't necessarily something that you're like, it's not something that necessarily needs to be dealt with in yourself. It's a larger issue. It's a larger feeling thing, because there does come a point where you're starting to feel a certain way and you're starting to think, I might need help. And I really have so much empathy for those people who find themselves in those situations, more and more people all of the time, because it's scary. It is scary to, like, you just assume you have your mental health. Regular health, you're like, oh, I'll be fine. But your mental health is completely different. And especially for someone who usually can shake things off and can be quite positive, to kind of fall into a pattern of like, oh, I don't think I actually can get myself out of this, which is very unusual. It just really, it made me feel like, okay, so maybe it's not that. Maybe we don't need to be quite so concerned. Maybe it's a larger thing, and steadily whether that was true or not, I started to feel better. One thing that happened this month, I mean, so many things happened this month that were good, but again, I couldn't feel it. One thing that happened this month that was a real positive was I launched my new, we're going to call it merch. I'm 36, I feel like I'm too old to have merch, but that is what it is. Merch collection on my site. So I had sweatshirts, t-shirts, a mug. There's going to be a very short amount of time in which this is still available because it's going at the end of the month. So if you are interested, I'll leave it linked below. But that launched on my birthday on the 4th. And I can't believe like how many people ordered, how many people said they loved the stuff. The response was amazing. So that, again, that should have been something that was like, oh my God, that's great. It was really dulled by this weirdness. But that was a really positive thing that happened this month. You know, it was our anniversary at the end of last month. It was my birthday. I got a niece. So many things to celebrate. It's just sometimes you're not in the right place to do that. So I'm trying to use this now as a time to like reflect on those things and be like, yeah, they were great. Let's be happy now because we couldn't be happy then. I'm also really glad that I arranged a little mini birthday party for the beginning of March. Because had I done that for the beginning of February, might not have been the best time. But because of like the people I'd invited, it's just a really small gathering of people. The people I invited, we couldn't all get the same weekend until the beginning of March. And so I am having like a belated celebration in a couple of weeks. And it feels a little fated. Another thing that felt kind of weird, someone recommended the book club book be Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I've never read any Matt Haig books, but I know his kind of vibe is like mental health based stuff. But someone suggested it as a good segue between self-help, which wasn't really self-help, but kind of like self-help autobiography stuff, which was The Year of Yes, the first book, and fiction. And I'm going to try and alternate. And I thought, right, okay, I hadn't looked into it. And I said, okay, we'll take that as the suggestion for February. And because I was not feeling it, I didn't start the book at the beginning of the month like I usually would. I only started it maybe last week. I was like, I can't be bothered. Don't care about anything. And I started it, and it was basically, not to give it away, but it's basically someone who doesn't feel they're valuable anymore. And she, I mean, again, I don't want to spoil it, but effectively the whole thing is like revisiting regrets and lives unlived. But it's very, very heavy. I would say it needs to come with a trigger warning of if you are struggling with like some stuff, like just read what it's actually about before you actually read it. But for me, it couldn't have been better in terms of theme. It was very like perspective. So I really enjoyed it. And that's kind of been my month. Truly, not a lot happened. I really let stuff slide on the YouTube front because I was just, again, unwilling to care. And so rather than push myself and say, I've got these goals for March, I'm going to do a no-buy and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to share my word of the month. The word of the month for January was intention. So that was basically setting myself up for the year. Here are the things that I want to achieve. The word of the month for February was love, which I had intended on a whole month of themed videos dedicated to like products that I absolutely love. And I peppered some stuff in here and there, but it really wasn't what I wanted it to be because I just didn't have the energy to put into it. I may revisit that at some point, but instead I kind of pivoted a little bit and made that more about self-care and giving myself that time that I needed when I needed that time. So still love, not the love I thought it was going to be. And March is growth, which can mean many different things. Obviously, when I wrote this at the beginning of the year, I was like, well, we're going to do some stuff about like gardening things and some fun stuff, but also, you know, personal growth I'm all about. And I think we're probably going to be leaning towards more personal growth, given that the garden has been destroyed by the storm. So growth for March, if you want to adopt that word with me, please do. And let me know in the comments how you feel like that's going to be interpreted for you for March, because I think that's really, it's a really helpful thing. I know that some people have like a word of the year or a word of the season or whatever else, but I'm really enjoying this like monthly, it feels like a monthly reset. This month more than any, I felt like I needed it. I think I was like holding on to some like latent, some sadness from like November time. It's just been there, and it's just kind of like gone a little worse, a little worse, a little worse, a little worse steadily, until suddenly, I talked about this a long time ago when I was, I can't remember what I'd called it, something about anxiety, but I gave the analogy of the balloon, because it's different for different people. But for me, for sure, it's a slowly inflating balloon and it's a slowly deflating balloon. Some people will get super stressed really quickly and then it pops and then it's gone. Some people, it inflates really, really slow and then it's like gonna burst, and some meltdown happens and then it pops. It's completely dependent on like you, but looking at it in that way really helped me. And I think my balloon has been inflating very slowly since November, and something triggered something in February, and then just very slowly it's deflating again now, and I feel like a floppy balloon. That's it for today's video. I just wanted to check in and be like, hey, here's how I'm feeling this month. Here's how I'd like to feel next month. Better.